Well, she actually saw him.
Yeah, should have waited though.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. He's right here. Oh, you want to get it? Oh, there you are.
Right on time.
7:00.
Your turn. Oh yes. My mic's off. Now we're good. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting 2 of the Swatara Township Board of Commissioners. It is May 13th at 7:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jesus.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. You may be seated. Secretary Savage is not here this evening, so we are going to have Solicitor Wyland do our roll call.
Commissioner Douglas,
Present.
Commissioner Ray,
Here.
Commissioner Connolly,
Here.
Vice President Steele,
Here.
President Ellis.
Here.
We have a quorum. All commissioners are present.
Thank you. And this board did not have an executive session prior to this meeting. We are up to a presentation of proclamation for Mr. Bill Keister. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Commissioner Connolly.
Okay. Because the meeting's being broadcast, I'm going to read the proclamation so that everyone can hear it, and then we'll have Mr. Keister come up, get presented with his certificate for outstanding achievement, and Superintendent Stauffer, if you have any comments that you want to make at that point, we'll go from there. So, Bill, when we'll go through this, we'll bring you up for the picture. Certainly welcome to bring your medals up. But we're fortunate tonight to have a township resident with us, and I'm going to go ahead and read the certificate that he's going to be presented with. It's a certificate for outstanding achievement, and it says this certificate is proudly presented to Mr. Bill Keister. Bill Keister, a championship powerlifter from Swatara Township, distinguished by an award-winning career in the bench press. He has an 11-0 record in championship events, including 1 world title, 3 national titles, 7 state titles, and a record of 353.75 pounds in the bench press in the 60 to 64 age group. Bill began focusing on competition after training his son, Garrett, and the Swatara Township Board of Commissioners is honored to recognize you for your outstanding achievements. Signed, Swatara Township Board of Commissioners. So. And Superintendent, if you want to say something, we'll bring you up. And Bill, we're doing this so people can hear the whole broadcast.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, just briefly, I wanted to say that Bill has been a great friend and supporter to the police department and to the township. Has been just inspirational to our police officers and to our community. I know that he's now working with kids in a local school district and is certainly being a leader to those kids and a great mentor. So I thank you for your service. Thank you, Bill.
All right. We'll all go out front. Lift us up. Bill, you're a big guy. Why are you shy?
All right. We are up to visitors' requests and comments. If you have comments, you can come to the podium. Please write your name and address down, as well as state it for the public, and then you may begin your comments. We do ask that you try to keep them to 3 minutes, and we generally do about 30 minutes maximum worth of comments this first time around. But we do have a second opportunity for visitor requests and comments later on in the meeting.
Good evening, Madam President, Commissioners, and citizens of the community. My name is Patrick Bradnick, and once again, I come before this board to present camp cards, which are ongoing discounts for local and national businesses to our police and fire chiefs, as well as the EMS chief, to be distributed to our emergency responders. The funds raised from these cards go into our personal Scout account to be used to attend summer camp, trips, and even Eagle Scout projects. I have proudly taken the initiative to offer people to purchase a card, and I would donate it to our first responders on their behalf. Scouts fundraisers are an essential part of our troops and personal financials that help us provide opportunity to have great experiences and become future leaders in the process. This weekend, our troop is visiting Valley Forge and then actually camping out on the Battleship New Jersey overnight. While attending camp and these excursions are fun for me, the best part of doing this particular fundraiser allows me to give back to the community in which I live. First responders, be it paid or volunteer, give so much back to our community and oftentimes are overlooked by many until they dial 911. If I can ease the burden of assisting a responder in getting a discount for a meal or keeping a little money in their pocket from a grocery trip, there's a good chance they will somehow pay it forward to another person in our community. This is what makes Swatara strong.
Thank you. And yeah, how do you usually say how many are you? Yeah, we'll do our pictures and everything again too, but
How many?
do you know?
50.
Thank you, Patrick. And for the people in the audience that aren't usually here, this is something that this young man has done for quite a long time, and this time he's much taller. So, yeah.
Oh, Shane, how about let them line up in front, then we'll just stay on our spots. And get in here, make sure we can get closer. Do you have everybody, Scott?
I do.
Thank you.
I remember previous times we needed to adjust the microphone. Not anymore.
Solid young man you're raising there, Justin.
Absolutely.
Solid young man.
All right. Yep. You can come up. Go for it.
Hate to follow that. That's pressure. Hi, Jen Kennedy. Is that too loud?
Nope.
I appreciate your time and attention tonight. And I know I emailed all of you probably a month ago. I spoke to you at the voting polls. I spoke to you at my house. I'm here about the data center. No surprise. I did have a chance to come next last week, but I got a chance to watch the video. And I do appreciate you guys advocating for us in the past, for the 83 toll bridge, all those things that you've done for us in the past. I'm just asking that you do it one more time for us. Obviously, it's not going to be the last time. I read the current data center ordinance, and I think it's very vague. I think that there could be stuff that we could add to it to add some protections for the residents. I did send you guys some model ordinances. I hope you took a look at those. But specifically, noise. I work from home. I'm literally, I live on Terry Drive, so I can see the golf course from my house. I can throw a stone, or maybe the better analogy is a golf ball could probably hit my house with a good drive. So I have a lot of concerns. I think like one of the model ordinances stated about noise pollution, like you could require them to put fences up, shrubs up, put it at the back of the property. I know you had mentioned they were thinking about that to kind of mitigate those noises. Also, I'm on a well. I know that there is maybe, I don't know if it's a myth or a fact, but maybe a possibility that my well may be contaminated. So I know that maybe I need to get it tested prior to the data center coming. But is that in my pocket? What if something happens? Like, can't we put something in there to say within a certain amount of time, if my well gets contaminated, they have to either put me on city water or buy filtration systems, whatever can be done. Those are my concerns. Also, noise levels. I know that some of the ordinance had stated that like certain decibels, certain tones, that has to be monitored. So I know that it wasn't up to you guys to put this data center here. I know the county sold it. I understand that. I'm just asking for you guys to kind of amend that current ordinance, put some more protections in there for us. I would think that most of the residents would agree. Are you willing to do that?
What's that?
I was talking to the president. If she's okay, I can speak to it a little bit.
Sure.
Phil. I'm just going to give you, you pretty much know my opinion because I was obviously at your door. We do have noise ordinance. Um, as far as the land development and the setbacks and things of that nature, that could be looked at. And I think the noise ordinance could be looked at. I think what everyone's looking for through all the feedback that I've gotten is they're looking for one document that just only includes noise, water, I'm cutting out, noise, water, and electricity in one document. So we do have a noise ordinance. So it would be my opinion that that should go in the noise ordinance, not necessarily under the data center ordinance. And I think we're going to have discussions about that. But there's no land development plan put forth yet because I can say we're getting a lot of emails, me anyway, probably about 10 so far. And I think everyone up here agrees with you. There needs to be some protections. But in order for us to be transparent and honest with you, there's things that we can't regulate, just so we're clear on that. We can't regulate water. We can't regulate power. And that seems to be I think, the most concerning issue for a lot of the residents and even in surrounding communities. We have no jurisdiction over that. That's the PUC, that's the state, but I'll just talk loud. I think you're going to see as we get further along, you're going to see all of us up here are researching. We agree with you. We live here. Our kids live here. Our family lives here. My grandmother lives right down the street on Terry Drive. So I get it, right? I get the wells. I get no sewer, all those things. And I just want to leave you with one thing because this is another concern that a lot of people are concerned about. Since I've been sitting on this board, there will never be any development that I will agree to that is on the backs of the taxpayers. And what I mean by that is the developers will pay their way, whether that be for sewer, water infrastructure, power, whatever it may be. We will never agree to it. And I'm sure my colleagues up here will agree. We will never agree to have development that is on the backs of the taxpayers. And I just
appreciate
wanted to make sure I threw that out.
Can I
there,
just
because
have a rebuttal for that? I know that there's a current noise ordinance. I mean, obviously that covers residents and businesses, and I think that the data center is a lot. I don't know. The noise is a concern. You know, decibels and tone a lot higher than most of the residents or businesses. So I think that if you're gonna do that, that's great. But you got to amend that noise ordinance for the data center specifically. Um, I just lost my other thought.
we talked about water, power.
Yeah, and I
sewer.
realize that the PUC is,
Right.
in charge of the water and power, but I'm here about the noise, water contamination, green space, something, give something back to us.
And I want to throw this out to you. We have no land development, so we don't even know what the end user is. It could be all water cooled, and the only noise you're going to have, through my research, is a water cool facility is the generators firing up and testing themselves. That's it. So, but I agree with you. I'm with you.
But we got to put the cart before the horse. Like we've got to make those changes now
Mm-hmm.
before they come in. Is what I'm asking.
Are we doing another? We are going to do another tour too.
Yeah, I
correct?
was out of town. I missed that.
Yeah, and were you done?
Yeah, I was giving it to you.
When this whole process was going on, we had public meetings, and we have a unique situation compared to what we see on the news and other places, because we knew that there was some type of movement on the golf course. We didn't know what it was, but we knew that they wanted to, they were in debt, and they were gonna do something with the property. So it was mixed use. Data center was new to all of us. So this process started in 20 through 24 to try to find an area for every single use, which we're required to do by law. And I've said this before, that in my lifetime, um, convenience stores, have changed. It was a gas station, now it's a convenience store. So and then vape shops, marijuana dispensaries, Airbnbs, all these things were coming in. So we had an opportunity to put the data centers in what we thought were the best place they could go. And if you live there, that's, you don't, no one wants it here or there. But the two places that we selected were if a data center went in. This is not a situation where a data center has come to us and wants to rezone land for their benefit. And I watched the news last night, and I saw that happening in other places in Pennsylvania. So the codes department, the solicitor, the planning commission, they took a lot of things into consideration. And if I say the wrong thing or you want to jump in, Zach, we have a noise ordinance, and it's compared to other places. I think ours is stricter than a lot. So saying that we need to have a data center ordinance because theirs is louder, that would be the opposite. We're not cutting them a break. We're not giving them a different ordinance. They have to comply with the ordinance that we already have in existence. So, my preference is no noise off site. But when I was in your neighborhood having conversations with people to see if they want to go on the bus trip, we had to get really close over and over again because of airplanes going right. So we can't regulate. You know what I mean? There's noise coming from an airplane. If anyone thinks that anyone on this board of the planning commission is going to allow a disturbing noise that we have any control over for anything, just say whether anything, that's not in our interest. But at the same time, I live on Harrisburg Street, and I can hear the traffic from the Eisenhower interchange on one end, and I can hear rail from two directions. But as far as the noise ordinance that we have, it's a strict ordinance. So if the data center has to meet that strict requirement, I'm not sure why we would be giving the data center some other ordinance. So I mean, they already have to comply with everything else. So I get what you're saying. Like, it sounds like you're saying they'll be louder, so we have to give them an ordinance.
That's my understanding.
Right, but
It wouldn't be
if
allowed to be, though.
if the ordinance is already at this level
Yeah.
and they're louder, they're violating it. There's no interest on any of our parts to raise it a little bit so they're not as much over it. So I just want to be clear on that.
Okay.
And that's why, I sit on the planning commission now. I oversee planning and codes, and we had someone last night, and unfortunately she left before we could respond, but she said, well, in your ordinance, someone could put a data center 38 feet from someone's house. Okay, well, that's not anything we have, because the homes have distance between them and the street. The street has a certain distance. Then there's a right of way. Then there's utilities. That keeps pressing and pushing that farther and farther. So you're talking literally hundreds of feet, and maybe more. So um, certainly willing to address any facts. And when it comes up, there'll be a planning commission meeting. There'll be a plan. And that's the time where we say, hey, wait a minute, that could be an issue. That might, I think, some people do development right and some don't. And we had plans before us last night, and there was discussion and comments and some disagreement and some things that Mr. Golden is protecting the township. The planning commission's looking out for the township. So I just want to, and I didn't really think about it until I left the meeting last night and I saw the top 3 stories were other places. And I just want to be very clear to all of our residents, this is a totally different situation. We had the foresight to look for places, and I'll give you just one quick example and I'll stop talking. I was at a student field day today, and kids wanted to throw balls and do things around the pavilion. And then they wanted to do it around the playground, and they wanted to do it around the parking lot. Okay, so the adults there evaluated the situation, and there was a massive field. And they said, how about we do that activity over there? And that's kind of what we've done. We're not interested in putting things in a bad spot. And I mean, it doesn't compare to throwing a ball or getting bubbles on somebody, but the township professionals, and I'm not saying we're elected, we're citizens like you, but the township professionals had the opportunity to designate areas that were the best possible location in a situation that we may have preferred not to even do. We were required by law to do that. And unfortunately, if you live there, you have a tremendous amount of PP&L power lines that cross through the area. But if a data center goes there, they will hook to that infrastructure. There is public water, and I heard you said you were on a well. So they would be, something that big would be using public water, public sewer, and they would have fiber. And all we did was the zoning. If we just looked at a map and picked some other place, then you'd say, okay, a data center, instead of going on this end of the township where it made the most sense, we'll put it in the middle of the township. Then all that infrastructure would have to come to it, disrupting all the neighborhoods as they go. So, and I think your questions are great. And it reminds me of where, I think most of us were at before this came up. So, and you said you sent something to all of us.
I sent an email to all of you.
Yeah, I think, is that something I sent to you then? Because what I'm doing now is, that's my committee. We're getting a lot of the same questions with some different, variances here and there. And I'm not going to give you wrong information. And I'm not going to give you information on a project that's not in existence right now or rumor or anything like that. So I've been forwarding those to Zach to, have an answer. He has the most information. So appreciate you.
I just get concerned that, we need to put something in before we get to land development. That's all.
No,
That's all I'm
and
asking.
I'm interested in those concerns, and maybe we can take that list and then explain to you what we already have and what it is, and it may satisfy you, or yeah.
I feel like I'm in the dark. So
Yeah, no, it's understandable. You're
Yeah.
going to look for one specific ordinance, not taking into consideration that there's a lot of different
Right,
ones that actually
noise
apply.
and-
So that makes sense.
okay, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
I don't want
you.
to take up anybody else.
No, you're good. Thank you very much. Do we have any other? Yep.
Okay. Hi, guys. Steph Dodge, 91 Riverview Street. I was here last week. I did talk emailed with Zach, and I do have a question. I know that we have an ordinance. It is fairly vague, and I know that the noise ordinance is a different thing. But looking through the codes, it seems like in the multi-use zones, there are a bunch of different things that seem to have a lot more in their ordinance than this does with regards to buffer zones, light pollution, and things of that nature. So my question is, would we be willing to update the ordinance for the data centers to include some of those things?
I'm gonna let Zach address the specific uses and the.
Yeah, so do know that the Planning Commission recently, within the past 2-3 months, reviewed our buffering ordinance in our subdivision and land development ordinance, and also there's some landscaping in our zoning ordinance. And after a larger review, they determined that that is sufficient for all the future development within the township. We do have a pretty strict lighting requirement that light cannot be polluted onto neighboring parcels, even if it's 1 foot candle past the boundary, that's a violation. So every developer that comes in has to do a photometric plan, a landscape plan, and they have to abide by every single rule that we have. So to answer your question, we could pass something, but the planning commission's already done a review of it, and they feel, as planners of the township, they feel it's sufficient.
So basically,
You're fine.
So basically, we have the ordinance for the data center, but then it also falls under all of the other mixed use ones. So even though it might say like truck terminal with different buffer zones and things, that is included.
So it depends. So under the mixed use, there are buffers, large buffers. I think it's 300 feet, 500 feet. It depends if there's going to be truck terminals coming out of a data center. And I don't know if there would be or wouldn't be. But if there's not, so trucks aren't coming in and out every single day, backing up to a dock, then it falls into our subdivision land development ordinance. So it's not use specific standard to a truck terminal. Then it goes into our SALDO, it's our subdivision land development ordinance, which all uses must comply with.
Okay, so that would be the minimum 30-foot wide buffer yard with plant screening. I think I'm in the right part of the code here.
I would have to
It's-
look at it. It depends on if it's abutting a residential district. It's stricter. I believe it's 70 foot then,
Okay.
which some of those areas do buffer residential zones, so they will be required to have larger trees. For example, instead of a 4 foot planting requirement, it's automatically bumped up to an 8 foot plant. And then there's earth and berm requirements, but there's more strict requirements as you abut residential districts.
Okay, so basically, the ordinance for the data centers seems to be just putting them out there, and then they're going to have to follow all of the other,
You're good.
all the other codes and ordinances in the mixed use.
They have to follow the mixed use regulations, which are generally more strict than anywhere else. Then they have to follow all the zoning regulations and all the subdivision land development regulations. So if you look at all those regulations and the sewage, we have sewer regulations, stormwater regulations, they have to follow all of that. So even though we don't have a massive 10-page use-specific standard for data centers, we still have extremely strict rules and regulations on them.
Okay.
Just
I
like
think
any
that's-
other use.
I think that's what everybody's looking for, is that standalone
yeah.
document.
I think that's where a lot of the confusion is
It makes
coming in.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
complicated.
Yes.
And because there are some municipal governments that's just saying, okay, we're not going to worry about the rest. We're just going to write one standalone document. Right.
Yes, and I think I've been seeing that a lot lately. So, all right, so I will dive back into this, and then Zach, I will probably hit you up to sit down and have a meeting, because if
To
I
look
can
through all these.
decipher it,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe then we can make a document that everybody can see, and that would be very helpful. I think.
Refer
in
to
this.
these areas so that you
Yes, like you go to this, and then this takes you to this, and
Yes.
then this part is here, and this
Yep.
part is
I
here.
think that's something that we could just work on as well,
Yeah.
because it would be helpful. and
Yeah,
something
because-
we can have on the website.
Yeah, especially because then you're not just saying like, oh yeah, we have an ordinance for
Right.
that. Here
Right.
is the specific ordinance
Right.
for that. And this is how it applies to the data center. And this is how you look here. And it tells you to go here. And then from here, you go here.
Right.
Like I said, specifications.
One of the
I can
things-
follow the trail.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I hear, and a lot of concerns, is noise.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been researching noise regulations in different jurisdictions throughout Pennsylvania, and compared to ours, a lot of the standard decibel for data centers is capped at about 80, which is dBA, decibels, whatever, weighted decibel. Ours is 70 for any industrial zone. So we already have more strict noise regulations. Now that's for everything. So even
Yeah, if anything, I would maybe look at that just because some of the feedback I'm hearing is that the data centers operate at a lower frequency. So you don't hear it, you more feel it. And this is obviously it doesn't go as far, but it's more of like a low hum than something that would you would normally think of as a noise that is a problem because you can't hear it as a high pitch, it's a lower decibel. So that would be something I'll look into that and just see because I think, I think I speak for all of us when I say, the data center in Georgia just got caught stealing water. So like no one trusts these places.
What happened?
You did not see about that? There's a data center. There was a county in Georgia that started going dry and they were having a drought. And when they investigated, they found out the data center had connected to the water main. One connection was legit and the other one was just done. No one knows how they did it, but it was like 29 million gallons of water they stole. And of course, they just have to pay it back. But, so those stories do not help at
Makes
all.
sense, right?
So that's why I think the residents, we just want to make sure we're protected because we know we cannot trust, no one can trust the data centers at this point until they have proven that they, can be good neighbors. It doesn't sound like they are so far.
yeah, so I mean, as protection for you, I'm working for you. One of my requirements is going to be to show they meet the noise ordinance, so they're going to have to prove that. Also, I want to say the lot line of a residential use. So if there are residential properties abutting the mixed use district, that would be capped at 62.
Okay.
So it gets even stricter as you go out. So, sorry, did you hear any of that?
I did.
Okay.
No, I've watched the YouTube thing. It
Okay.
definitely goes in and out a little bit. But all right. Well, I think that's all I have for now. I'll be coming to you for stormwater next.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank
That's
you.
fine. I just want to say before you leave, thank you because you just taught me. I didn't know about the lower decibel, so you're teaching me as things go along too. Thank you.
Congratulations on your new microphone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I am Kevin Gilmore. I live on Terry Drive as well. Um, my I have the same concerns everyone else does. I'm up here kicking a dead horse, even trying to talk to you about it here. But here's the thing: that this is my question since I'm sitting here this whole time. Reluctance. What is the reluctance? What is the trouble? What is the problem with creating a brand new standalone, using the same sound ordinances, the same water ordinances, the same everything? Everyone's saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. Okay? Everybody tells you what we want. You tell us, yes, we've looked into it, blah, 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 blah. What is the problem with writing a new ordinance? So even if this doesn't come in, so no matter what other industry does come in, you have it in place so you don't go through this again. You don't have this issue of everyone wanting to come beat you up in a meeting or have a problem with you over the internet or some crazy stuff because people get shot for these stupid things. You guys, all you gotta do is write an ordinance. Honestly, all you got to do is take what we sent you samples. Allegheny County, that the ordinance that we sent you was Allegheny County. Allegheny County has Pittsburgh stadiums, civic arenas. They wrote one to protect them because of the data centers. Protect your citizens. We're your citizens. We're the people who live here with you. Okay, I'm looking where they want to. I rated my house. There it's going to be. Okay, can we have the trees? Well, we can't tell them what to do on their property, but we can tell them you have to put a 45-foot berm and then a 20-foot berm. She was just talking about the low frequency decibels. Okay, we actually have military weapons that are low frequency decibels. We don't know what sound that's going to make. So if we have an ordinance that says you have to do continual testing, not only for the 70 decibels, but the low frequency,
or the ultra high, from the power lines, from whatever noises these things make, because you guys don't even know what noises these make. Nobody knows anything. To me, the best thing as a citizen of of the township would be if you could tell me what they can and can't do. And all it takes is someone to sit down at a computer and write an ordinance. My wife's very good at writing. I bet you she could write it for you. Not that tough. You guys just put a new one out so we're more comfortable with the decisions you're making with our future. So thank you for your time.
I just
let
wanna
me
say,
let me go first.
exactly what you were
No, let
saying
me
is
go
what
first.
we were going, we're
Right.
compiling. So basically what we're hearing is we have things.
We've already done this,
Yeah,
and we
so-
just went through the process of removing redundancies from the ordinance.
Mhm.
So what you're asking for is for us to put the redundancies right back in.
So-
They already exist. the
So
things
why
that you're
haven't
looking
we
for.
quieted this conversation over the past 2 weeks?
Because
That's all anyone
as
has asked for.
one of the members just said, things pop up in the news. So then more people have more questions and they don't watch the meetings. They haven't heard all of the discussion. So that's why it's a
And
repeat.
to be fair,
Because
I have not heard.
Right.
I watched
Right.
last week's.
But that's the point. That's why you keep hearing about it, because not everyone is proactive. Not everyone is following it. You see something in the news, then it piques your interest, then you come to us. So what we just said that we will attempt to do is put something together, because everything that you're asking for, we have in place. So
You do, but not-
you can understand where it's located rather than doing a redundant ordinance. Those ordinance that you're talking about for the other places,
Mhm.
they did just do it to make you feel good. I'm sure they already have the things in place too. So, but we can create a document that shows you all of those things. So it's the same thing, essentially.
And
So
that's-
we've basically, what I hear from what you're saying is we're on the right track. We've already done the thing that you're wanting. You just don't understand it. And that's fair, because it's complicated and it's all over the place with regard to where each section is located, with regard to what can go in there and what they'll be held to. It's different. And unfortunately, that is how code works, just in general.
I understand, but here's my point. If you're going to protect me, you're going to tell me you're going to protect me, please put it in writing.
It is, but it is in writing. That's the point. It's just knowing where to look, which is the part that's
But after
and do a good job on letting them know where to look.
the last meeting and this meeting, no one has said you're working on it. All you said was we have this here and we have this here.
I don't think that's accurate at all.
We've been working on it. And
Yeah.
this input, what you're saying is important. So if I have my vision of it, it's going to be concern, noise, and then we'll address where that is in our ordinance. Concern, lighting, and then but it's not completely doing what you say of writing a new ordinance and drafting a new ordinance. And that's what I was concerned about with the first speaker, because I'm not interested in having a new ordinance that is above 62 or 70 that we already have. But you're saying you want to see where we have it. You
Right.
don't care
Yes.
about our whole book of ordinances.
Yes.
You're worried about one subject, and then you want us to spell out how it applies. And we can do that.
The last meeting you said it was in another ordinance. I don't know what's going on here. The last meeting
fine.
you said it was in
Yeah.
another ordinance.
Yeah.
In another ordinance.
Yeah.
Another ordinance. I don't have a book of ordinances at my house. I'd like to have something that if I look up the data center ordinance, all the information I have is right there in front of me. That's really all anyone is asking.
Right.
We
And
could get
we
that.
just said that we'll work on creating that. So that's why we're failing at this point.
Ordinance and show you, and then we're open to suggestions. But we're not going to just start. So I think we're kind of saying
We're
the
on-
same
yes.
thing.
We're saying
Yeah,
kicking a dead horse. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
all night.
and we've been talking about this. For
And it's fair. You have concerns and they're legitimate. We have them too. We want to make sure that we're addressing. So we appreciate you.
I think I know exactly what you're looking for. A fact sheet.
Yes.
If a data center is built, ordinance, and this is just for simplicity,
Right.
ordinance 125, 123, 655, all apply to the data center.
Yes.
I think we can get that.
Right.
Now, I think what we're learning as time goes on, as you give us points, right? If there's something that wasn't addressed, hell yeah, we're going to create an ordinance for it.
Right.
Absolutely. If we, because listen, we didn't have an ordinance for data centers
Right.
because we didn't expect them. We didn't know they were coming. Legal said you don't have them. So guess what could have happened? They could have just plopped right in there and there would have been no protection.
Yeah.
Zero. Right. So we're on the same page with you. You're waiting for the fact sheet. I think that's going to take time
And
because of course here we got to make sure we put out the facts. If we don't, we're going to have trouble, right? But I think I'm right where you're at. A data center can be built. What ordinances apply to the data center? And then it's simplicity, right?
Very
And then our side is, well, we're not going to rewrite an ordinance just for data centers where we already have ordinances other places because we just,
That
I
they're
guess you would
held
consider it
to.
codified. We just codified a lot of our ordinances so you wouldn't have to jump all over the place. And I'll just give you an example. Like I'm the chairman of sewer, and we had something over here for sewer. It intermingled. It didn't make sense. So that's what we got to clean up because I mean, you got to think this government here is
I
200
was
something
just
plus years
curious
old.
on
You're
what
dead
the,
on. No,
what the reluctance.
you're
Yeah.
all saying the same
And
exact thing.
and it's
Fact sheet.
it's not a reluctance. It's just we have the things in place. Like so far, everything that has come to us, we have looked into it and we've seen, okay, actually, we're meeting what is being suggested or we're exceeding it. Okay. So it's again, that's why I said what I said earlier of like we just need to get something together so that we can present it to the public so you can decipher the code because it is complicated. Like as Ms. Dodge, you were saying that you would like to come in and sit and go over. I had to do that when I got on the board years ago too because it is complicated. There's lots of different things that you have to jump through to see where things are located. Nothing, first of all, nothing in government is simple
Well, just
ever.
wanted to address what I had.
So, but yeah, no,
I don't
it's not necessarily a reluctance, and that's where like the passion for me is coming from. It's not a reluctance. It's we have addressed everything that's come so far, and we do want to make sure that it's understandable. So the fact sheet, I think that is something that we do need to, work on. And then two, just keep in mind for everyone here, if you come with something else, obviously that's going to be another starting point for research to see, hey, does our code, meet this? Does it not? And if it doesn't, obviously then we will address it. But yeah, so it's not a reluctance. It's we already have it in place. It's just how do we communicate that to you?
By
So.
writing into it. Thank you.
That's fine.
I never touched mine.
Hi. Hi. My name's Michelle Godfrey, and I actually live neighboring in Hummelstown, but concerned citizen, and I'm learning. So everybody did an amazing job and answered pretty much the questions that I came with. I'm really appreciative that you guys came to this place of understanding what we're looking for. A couple questions. So it's my understanding that once a data center or any building, anything that wants to come in presents a plan, once that happens, we can't change any ordinances. Is that correct?
That's true. The law that's in existence at the time the plan is submitted is the law that's applied throughout the life of the project, and that's one of the reasons why the commissioners acted very quickly to get a center ordinance in place, so that you didn't have this rush to the filing office that sometimes happens when we spend 6 months debating what should go in the data center ordinance. Meanwhile, plan gets filed and nothing applies. So we have a data center ordinance in place now. Plus, as we've been stating, all of the existing rules for all development apply. So if someone came in tomorrow, filed a plan for data center development, it would go out for review by Zach here, by our planning commission, by the county planning commission, by our engineer. Everyone would review to make sure that the plan as submitted complies with all of the existing rules. One of the issues
In all the areas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
anything you want to build.
You said the data center, the data center ordinance, is that the one, is that this 2A and B? Is that when you say you put a data center ordinance in place? Is that what it is?
It was in April last year. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's more than that.
Yeah, so that's just use specific criteria, as
Okay.
solicitor Solicitor Wyland said, it applies to everything. So our stormwater ordinance, our sewer ordinance, every single ordinance, that's just use specific criteria to data centers. There are certain uses that have use specific criteria. It doesn't make it any better or worse if it's a larger list or a smaller list. But all of our ordinances apply, not just those two items.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand what is the ordinance that was put in place specifically for data centers?
It was adding a use,
Okay.
allowing the data center use in a district. It had
Okay.
to be put somewhere. And the planning commission and the board decided the mixed use district is the safest option.
Okay. So that it got put there
Correct.
rather than it could just go anywhere.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And then, so say the data center, they make their proposal and it doesn't meet some of these, requirements that are coming from all these different places. Then they just can't build? Is that what happens?
The way it works is that if a developer submits a plan and there's some aspect of our ordinance that it just can't comply with, it can ask the Board of Commissioners for a waiver of that particular element. One of the ones that we see all the time is we have a requirement that you file a preliminary plan and then a final plan. Sometimes with a simple project, the developer will ask to be relieved from the requirement that it file a preliminary plan. It's just not necessary in that case. Often those requests are granted to make the process more efficient. But if a developer needs some specific relief, like you need at least 100 acres to build something and he only has 15 acres, and he asks for a waiver of the minimum 100 acres, if that waiver is denied, the plan can be denied, and the developer can appeal to the court if he wants to, but he doesn't really have any grounds. So if a project comes in and it cannot meet the criteria, that's a sound basis for a board to deny the plan, and then the developer can appeal if the developer wants to.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I look forward to that fact sheet. That would be amazing, so that we can, as was mentioned before, I don't have to say it.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
That's 11 pages. I think I've heard that too. That the ordinance is only like one page. I just looked it up. It's 11 pages. It's 11. I'll find if you want when we're done here. If you want to give me your email address, I can look up the final draft.
Do we have any other?
I'm Damon Wagner, 1210 High Spire Road. And first off, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm sure that I speak for everybody here in saying that I really appreciate having this forum. Okay. To express some concerns that I have. I attended this meeting last week with my wife. And the following day, I found out that there was a similar meeting in Watts Township in Perry County. They are about 25 miles to the west, basically the same size, maybe not as populous, maybe 1,200 people to 30,000 here in Swatara. They have a 288-acre data center going in. The discussion they were having that evening was about amendments to the current zoning specific to data centers. The draft is 19 pages long. It's an impressive document, and I would encourage everybody to go look at it. I'm not going to labor what's in it, other than to say that there are things in it that do not appear in our ordinances, such as noise. Not only is it measured in dBA, but it's also measured in dBc, what you can feel. And I know a couple of my neighbors have mentioned that already. That needs to be taken into consideration. Another thing that needs to be taken into consideration are noise and emission limits for emergency generators. Oftentimes, these emergency generators are used for what they call peak shaving. So during peak hours, when the grid is under a lot of stress, they'll turn on these emergency generators. But the length, the noise, the emissions are not accounted for in the planning. These are just two examples of things that are in this document, and it's really a I don't know. You know, you think about these people, they're putting together this document, what they will allow to come into their community, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's night and day to what's currently in place, and I'd love to see this this summary sheet. You know, when I was in high school, we used to think of people in Perry County as kind of backwards. Um, but this document shows that there are very forward-thinking people now, which kind of brings me to the question. A number of my neighbors have raised concerns. But the question hasn't been posed yet. What is the mechanism? If we wanted to change something, how would we go about doing that? What sort of community groundswell would we need? I mean, I'd assume that there's at least a petition. How many signatures? What do we need to change things?
There isn't a requirement for signatures or anything like that. But if you go to the plant, generally what happens is people would speak to the planning commission,
Okay.
who then would take a look at whatever it is that you're talking about, compare, contrast, and see if there is a recommendation that would be made to this board.
Okay.
So we've had it before where there were developers that wanted to make a change. They've either come to us and asked us to pass it to the planning commission, or they've gone to the planning commission. That's essentially where
Okay.
it would start.
So what about you know, a number of my neighbors have mentioned concerns about DVC, and it was mentioned in a couple of other meetings too. How about
Well, we have you here. We hear what you're saying. We can evaluate it and go from there to see if that is something that needs to be added or isn't already taken into consideration with what is currently on the books. So we've heard your concern at this point too. We have our director of planning and zoning. We have the chair or the committee chair for the planning commission. So you skipped a step and we hear you. We can look into that because that's not one thing. What I think might be helpful too, and this is just me throwing this out there at this point, is maybe we take a look at the ordinance that you're talking about and compare it with what we already have on the books too. Because just because it's not written out in something where it's easy, which we're working on that too, as far as like a fact sheet, so that everyone knows where to look for where these codes and things like that are. But if there is something that's not taken into account that should be, we can work on that. But yeah, I think that might be a good thing for the planning commission potentially to look into, is compare and contrast the one that you're saying you think essentially is like gold standard, and see what we have, like where we differ, where we're the same, where one might be better than the other, and then go from there.
And I just want to be clear, you've already accomplished what you were asking. You don't need anyone else to speak for you. You don't need to ask anybody else to sign anything. Everything that you
Yeah.
said tonight is going to be reviewed. We're going to look at that order. Like, this is the place. You're
Yeah,
in the
that's-
place.
yeah.
You don't, so, between Zach, the solicitor, like I said, I'm one person on the planning commission. This is how we, make decisions. And before we made the decision on the two specific properties, one with a change of zoning and one with a change with adding a use, there were other suggestions. I mean, it wasn't like there were other suggestions, there were other possibilities. It's a big township. And some of them, they sounded good. You know, but like one specific one, somebody would say, why can't we put data centers in our manufacturing and commercial areas rather than mixed use? Well, we were thinking that data centers might not be a desired thing. You know, like we were just forced to have a place. So in reality, I mean, obviously we did the minimum to give them two locations, 428 acres, one that's a golf course and one that's a farm that had not been farmed for years and years. But that suggestion comes up. I saw it this week on Facebook. If you look at a zoning map, if you look at the purples and the reds and all that, now we would have gone from like 2-3% of township property, and now saying that because citizens came to the microphone and suggested it or submitted a paper or had an idea, that now we open up like 20%. That's more than I'm interested in. That's more than the entire board was really interested in. But it doesn't mean that person didn't have, a valid suggestion. But if you look at the township, I mean, this is up against any home is important to me, but the golf course is there for a reason. It was open, it was separate. It's not really in a residential area. Not that residential isn't adjacent to it, but these other things are in residential areas. So, um, you know, you it we had to do something. So if people didn't want us to do anything, we were required to do something. And I mean, my feeling is that we did what we were required to do. I personally am not up here to open up 20%, 10 times what we have now to data centers because it's called a different zone. Dairy Street is probably going to be ours is commercial and manufacturing. Other areas that are more populated. So, like your suggestions, we'll look at, but I'm not saying we go with every suggestion everybody makes. But the one suggestion we can't go with was to not zone someplace for data centers, because then we'd be in that wherever they pick, we'd have to explain that after 227 years, we didn't designate a location for them, and the court's going to side with them. But I'm happy to look at anything that you send, and the same thing as other speakers. I've gotten correspondence and questions. I send them to Zach. I don't ever want to say the wrong thing or make a promise that I can't deliver on. So we send it for more review. So, I mean, what you said right there at the podium, if you have that specifically that you want to send it an email so we don't get it wrong, but we'll listen to the meeting, we'll take the notes, and we'll look into all those things.
Okay. So after it goes to Zach, then what's the mechanism?
He'll review what we have on the books and compare it,
Okay.
essentially. And then if there is something, that we don't have that, we feel we should, then it'll go through the process of, potentially amending or adding, or like, because it might not necessarily be for the data center. If you're talking about noise things, we might need to update the noise ordinance, which then in general, everyone would be held to the same standard, which is more fair and better, frankly, for everybody. If there's an issue with low frequency, you would want every project to be held to that standard, not just this one. So that's the way that that would be looked into. And I do just want to point out too, with regard to how there are two zones or two areas that a data center could potentially go in. There's something called spot zoning too, which is illegal. So we couldn't say, hey, this one place right here is the only place we want that to be. So you have to make it something that is, it has to be fair. And with the courts with spot zoning, that would be challenged, and that's not something that we would potentially win. So that's why there are two areas as well to try to be in compliance with the laws and things like that. So.
If I could speak just a moment on, I think one of your questions was really focused on process, right? I think the process for anyone who wants to suggest a change to the zoning ordinance or the saldo is to go first to the planning commission. Those are people who are volunteered to roll up their sleeves and take a lot of time, more time than we'll spend tonight looking at the details of if you think there's a specific operational parameter of a data center that's not addressed or inadequately addressed, convince the planning commission that you have a good idea, or that someone else has a good idea that you're bringing to their attention, And then if they agree, they can recommend it to the Board of Commissioners, and the Board of Commissioners have the discretion to initiate the change, which takes several months because there's advertisement, there's review by the County Planning Commission for legality, et cetera. People do this all the time. They come in and suggest a zoning change, and the law is that there's no way to compel the elected officials to adopt a zoning or saldo change. It's discretionary on their part, and if they decline to make the particular change that you're suggesting, there's no right of appeal. It's a purely legislative exercise. But my ears are always perked up listening for specific concerns. There's a lot of emotional opposition to it, which I certainly understand. But when you picture this thing 5 years from now and it's in operation, what aspect of its operation might affect you if you're, a quarter mile away or maybe even closer, and what is not currently addressed? The one thing I heard tonight was that should be looked into is lower frequency. Decibels, as I understand it, is how loud something is. The frequency, the hertz, is how high or low pitched it is. And I don't know currently, what our ordinance speaks to, but if there's a gap there that needs to be filled, that's something to look into. So, and as the president said, you can't make it so hard that they can't do it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just say like, okay, it has to be a maximum of 3 square feet, or something like that. Haha, that'll be stricken. So if you have I think the way to succeed in advancing arguments is to be very specific. I think, like, here's something I'm worried about. It's going to operate in this way, and we don't like it. It's going to affect me, and we should tighten that restriction. The concern about wells, for example, like, as I understand it, this thing has to be on public water and wastewater. I can't imagine a way that it would affect a well a quarter mile away if someone else is on public water. So,
I think maybe the concern would be if they were blasting in terms of construction.
yeah, there's a quarry there, so you would
Exactly.
think that might have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
What was the last acronym that you used for one of your concerns? I missed that.
The last acronym?
Acronym, yeah, use an acronym.
DBC.
DBC
Yeah,
and DBA.
I got that. Okay.
yeah, it's just decimals.
Yep.
There was one other thing that I was going to say with regard to, and with regard to the makeup of the planning commission, they live here too. You know what I mean? So it's essentially, resident to resident saying, hey, we don't want to be affected in a negative manner. And, obviously we're going to take that serious because we live here too. Same thing with the board. Like, we all live here. We all want to do what we can to make it so that everything is, as good as it can be. Because obviously, if it was legal to say, no, we just don't want whatever this development is, that might be a route that we would take. But we can't. So we're held to, laws and things like that. And we have to be in compliance. And sometimes that's a balancing act with what the public wants to see with regard to what we can actually do by law. And I mean, I think our board does a good job of that balancing. But like you said, like multiple people have said, something that we're not doing a great job of is that fact sheet thing. So we'll work on that, get that out there. And we can, like I said, we'll compare and contrast the ordinance that you've brought up and see, do we meet the standards in there, or is there something that needs to be addressed? So, and just for everybody, that's how we operate. That's how we try to operate, to be fair and to make sure that everybody is protected. Because again, we live here too. So,
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
of course, yep. Say we've definitely gone over the 30 minutes, but that's all right because no, you're fine because thankfully we have a short agenda. So it's, yeah. And this is important conversation. And if anyone has been to a meeting before, I do my best to not stifle discussion. But yeah, if anyone else feels like they want something to come up and say something, don't feel like you need to wait. So, but yeah.
Justin Braddock, 3703 Rutherford Street. It's a heated topic. There's lots of cons to it. There's also lots of pros to a data center. But what I urge is we have 2 new sitting commissioners on this board. It goes for all of you, but you guys have been, middle 3 have been here for a while. I always say, and I've said it at this podium several times before, there's what, 30,000 people in the township, 28,000? You're voting. You're making decisions for 28,000, not for 200 people of this neighborhood or 300 people of this neighborhood, 1,000, wherever. There's 28,000 people. So if you're struggling with a decision, take a Saturday, take a Sunday, walk to Lenker Manor. It's not campaigning. Just go up to the door and talk to a citizen. Explain to them the pros and cons quick. What are your feelings on it? Go to parts of the township that may not be directly affected, like Terry Drive. Go to Chambers Hill. Go to Lenker Manor, Rutherford, Lawton, wherever. Hell, even go to Paxton. Hey, there's possibility of this coming in. What are your thoughts? Explain to them, because a lot of people don't come out to these meetings. This township is we hold public events like crazy. It's a great thing. Maybe poll some people there. Maybe people come out to the events, but they don't show up here to the meeting. You know, they may be shy. They just don't have means to get here. But talk to the residents. But especially for you tuning in, there's 30,000 people. So when you're basing that decision, you have to get the knowledge of as many people as you can, just not certain people. So like I say, when you're voting for 28,000, 30,000 citizens of this community, not just certain areas. So I would suggest getting the layout of the land. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other visitors requesting comments at this time? All right. We're up to a motion to approve the agenda. I will make the motion to approve the agenda with the amendment for the approval of change orders for Bishop Park. There are only 4, there are not 5. So we'll strike CO 503. So it'll just be 504, 505, 506, and 507. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. And we do it all as one. This is to amend and approve the amended agenda. Is that okay? Okay. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. We're up to motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Motion.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? I forgot to ask for discussion for the last one. All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're up to Buildings and Codes Department, and I'll turn it over to our Director of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Golden.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam President. My items were very light this month, so I talked with Commissioner Connolly on an issue we've been having, not just in our township, but many municipalities throughout the country have. In particular, we have a property, 2 properties on 2nd Street right now. I won't name an address, but where the property has burned down in 2025. It's a duplex. So 2 sides of the property burned down, 2 separate tax parcels. And unfortunately, the property owner, from our understanding, basically took the insurance money and ran off. We were receiving complaints regarding the smell, the view, the potential for to fall over. We live in a tight-knit community where the houses are close, and it could cause destruction on other properties. So I talked with our solicitor's office, and I know other municipalities have a fire insurance claims ordinance in order to protect the township from situations like this. We have methods now that we are taking in order to protect those neighbors. However, this takes the burden off the taxpayers for this particular ordinance. So our solicitor's office pulled a sample fire insurance claims ordinance from the borough of Chambersburg. And basically, I'll kind of go down what they do. So I don't want to put extra work on our municipal treasurer. However, the treasurer is responsible for this duty. So the designated officer would be the municipal treasurer, or Mr. Azinski. So a certificate required. So no insurance company will be allowed to pay a claim um, of a named insured for fire damage to a structure located within the township, where the amount recoverable for the fire loss of the structure under their policies exceeds $7,500. So if there's a fire that exceeds $7,500, the insurance companies has a database that of municipalities in Pennsylvania that have this ordinance, and they are not allowed to pay any claim if a municipality has this ordinance. So they can't pay a claim until they receive a certificate from the municipal treasurer. So the municipal treasurer issues a certificate indicating that there are one, no delinquent taxes or no delinquent assessments, penalties, or user charges, excuse me, against the real property. And then once she issues that, so basically this is a property that hasn't paid their taxes for 5 years. They would have to pay that up before their money got paid out. Before the insurance agent can transfer proceed or money in order to start fixing the structure, they are required to send the township $2,000 for every $15,000 of a claim. After that transfer, the insured submits a contractor signed estimate to remove, repair, secure the buildings or other structures, and then the treasurer returns the amount of the funds transferred to the municipality in excess of the estimate to the name insured. If the municipality has not commenced to remove, repair, or secure the building, we have the right to do that if they back out now. So now we'll have a pot of money that will be able to go to the courts, get permission to maybe demo the structure, or do repairs, secure the property, board up the property. After the repairs have been completed, which I'd say 99%, 98% of the properties do, they want to live back in their homes. We then return their money. That's pretty much everything in a nutshell. Scott, do you have any better information? Do you have history with this?
No, I don't. I want to commend you for digging this up and getting it in place and bringing. I know it's come up in the past here, and I think that's an important thing. Sort of gives an opportunity for us to the township to intercept the insurance funds instead of letting them just abscond and then leave us with only the problem. So I think it's sensible.
Yeah. So right now, what the situation is basically, since we do not have this in place for this property on Second Street, for example, the township has to pay the fees up front. So if we have to hire a demolition company, we have to bid the project. We do the cost, we do the work, and then we have to lien the property. God knows when we would get the money for that. So it takes the taxpayers off the hook. So we're just looking to see if you guys are interested in this. If so, we'll work with Scott's office in drafting an actual ordinance for our township.
So we're referring this back to committee? Because I do have some questions if we're going to refer it back to committee.
Whatever, just whatever you guys thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a start. I just have some questions, so I'd like to go back to committee first, and then from there, I think the committee can talk with legal and see what they want to do. I just want to add my 2 cents to it. I have some questions, but I think it's a great start.
Does anyone have anything else?
I just want to say, I think it's similar to our listing of foreclosed properties that we have. That I don't know the company we use now. They changed names a couple times, but was Pro Champs at one time. So what would happen is there'd be something going on at the property, and people moved out or foreclosed it. It's just abandoned, grass is growing, and then we had a listing of those properties, and there was some type of I guess it was we would find out who was holding the mortgage or who the property owner was, other than the individual in the township, and they would pay a fee. So at least we had some money up front. So it almost sounds like an insurance for the township. When these, and it doesn't happen a lot here, but every now and then, unfortunately, you'll have a property that somebody walks away from, and generally it's after a fire. And if that person makes the claim to their insurance company and gets their money, but doesn't fix the house, now they're gone with the money, and we have the distressed property. So I'll agree with Vice President Steele that I think this is a good start. I'm glad you did the presentation. Be interested in some more information, and just one one thing to clarify. You said the threshold is if the damage is 75, or is that if the payout from the insurance company is 7,500?
It says where the amount recoverable for the fire loss to the structure under all policies exceeds $7,500.
All right. Thank you.
And then just for a point of clarification, what we were presented, this is an ordinance from another municipality. So this isn't the ordinance.
No, we wanted to get direction to see if you're interested
Okay.
in any such ordinance.
So
first.
essentially at this point, what would happen is you and Scott would work together. And then whatever input you wanted to give Vice President Steele, you could, so it's essentially already, yeah. So from us, you just are looking for permission to move forward essentially with
Yes.
drafting. Okay.
With drafting something.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone has anything that they have concerns, questions, direction that they wanted to add, just provide that to you and Solicitor Wyland. And then we can get something together. And then again, for the public, that would then be reviewed by the Planning Commission. Is that correct or no?
No.
Okay. Okay.
This is not in the zoning of the Saldo.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, maybe we could do something like, well, we have to advertise it anyway. So we
Yep.
could do a presentation
Yep.
again to the public at that point to know, hey, this is what the final product of these discussions is going to be. You can hear the information, and then from that point, we would advertise and then adopt. Okay. All right. So, I guess I'll entertain a motion from the board to recommend that Director Golden and Solicitor Wyland move forward with creating a fire ordinance.
Actually, Director Golden, from start to finish, when can we give the residents a time where we can actually clean all this stuff up? If, let's just say if everyone agrees to this, or you get the majority of the board agreement.
Well, this particular ordinance will not apply to the Second Street issue right now. First off, I have to bring that to the board's attention in executive session next month. Once I get the blessing from the board to move forward, we're going to go with Scott, correct me if I'm, is it an injunction that gets the permission of the judge to proceed with cleaning up the property? Is that? Yep. We're talking probably a 90 to bit longer time frame. It's a long time. We have to bid the project and everything else. So hopefully we get compliance. We've been trying. I've heard nothing, but I would say 90 plus days.
All right. Now, Solicitor Wyland, do we need a motion then, since no one was jumping on?
Well, I think Commissioner Steele recommended that it just be referred back to committee, which you can do as the chair. And then
Okay.
those comments take effect. It sounds like there's a consensus here.
Yeah.
The next thing, I think Zach would prepare a draft based on committee comments and bring it back to the board.
Okay. So we don't need that formal aspect of it. So, okay. Got it. Okay. All right.
Which committee? Which committee?
The committee you work for.
The codes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you want to do it a fire. I don't know.
Public Works. Good question.
All right. Thank you. All right. We are up to the reports.
A motion that all these reports, the treasurer's report be tabled and everything else be posted online for the sake of time, because I'm sure we're going to have another round of comments, and I enjoyed the comments from the public.
Yes.
So if we can just go ahead and post that and table the treasurer's report, because obviously she's not here.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam President, I do have a visitor. That was part of my report that's been waiting. So can I just do that portion of my report?
That's fine. We can still have the post, and then he can just go over. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Nope. That's fine. All right. So we have a motion and a second for them to be posted. We still will hear from our fire chief and from the individual that's here for Life Team. Is that?
Is that him?
Yep. So as part of discussion, then I
I
guess we'll
won't.
do it this
I
way.
won't read my numbers this evening, but we do have a special guest here. Um, so this is Craig Schultz. He is Lieutenant Schultz's father, and he wrote a very nice email to our fire department due to a medical emergency that he had in his family. So I'm going to read it for him on his behalf. So it says, Chief Iverson, on behalf of the Schultz family, I want to take time to personally thank you and, more importantly, the members of Station 91 and Life Team EMS crew for their exceptional response to a recent incident involving my brother, Chuck Schultz. From the moment the call came in for a possible stroke, the urgency of the situation was clear. The rapid arrival of both firefighters and EMS immediately set the tone for how serious this call was handled. Given Chuck's history and the information provided, the crews responded without hesitation with remarkable speed. Engine 91 arrived with a full crew of 4 from the station, ensuring a rapid and effective response without any delay, which was truly impressive. With strokes began extremely time sensitive. Every minute and every second matters. The speed at which your personnel and EMS operated truly made a difference. Their quick arrival and immediate access into the apartment allowed for patient contact without delay. The medic and EMT from Life Team EMS promptly initiated a stroke assessment, recognizing the symptoms as they were actively presenting, and wasted no time initiating rapid transport. Their decisiveness, training, and coordination ensured Chuck was loaded up and transported to the hospital as quickly as possible. That level of efficiency combined with urgency, which they treated the situation, is the reason Chuck is still here with us today. It's one thing to say crew did a good job, but this response went far beyond that. This was textbook example of how critical fast response times, proper assessment and training, and rapid transport all come together to save a life. The professionalism showed by both Station 91 personnel and Life Team EMS did not go unnoticed by our family. We have always considered Station 91 and Swatara Fire Rescue our second family, and this incident only reinforced that belief. Knowing that this level of care, skill, and dedication is there when it matters most means everything to us. Please extend our deepest thanks and appreciation to everyone involved in this call. We will never forget what they did for Chuck and for our family, not only once, but twice for my brother. With sincere gratitude, Craig Schultz and family. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm
Yes.
choked up.
Appreciate
Yeah.
I do have one more thing that just shows the level of professionalism of our firefighters. Just a few hours ago, I was on a structure fire in a neighboring municipality. Yes, I actually rode the fire truck, and it was fun. But as we were there and wrapping up, I was assisting the fire investigator with the investigation, and I turned around, and sorry, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this. And one of our firefighters was walking out of the house, and he had a portrait in his hand, and it was the portrait of the family's son in his he was a Marine, full dress blues, a beautiful portrait. And he wasn't told to do that. He just was in the house and saw it and decided that looked important. He walked it up to the family, and they immediately started crying and thanked him. So that's what kind of people that we have here in Swatara Fire Rescue. We have great leaders, we have great firemen, and we appreciate the commissioners and all their support, and we appreciate people like Craig that want to recognize their efforts. So thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on to approval to add a salt storage building for Swatara Township Municipal Complex.
A motion for 12 and 13.
Second.
All right.
That's the salt shed and the change orders.
We have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and do some discussion just to give a brief overview for the salt storage building, is that something that you would like to go over, Commissioner Connolly?
It's part of the ongoing municipal complex. There have been some discussion on whether the man's studio architect would do the salt storage, or if it's something we were going to do in house. So the motion that we're going with tonight is for them to do engineering, permitting, and basically design for the salt storage building. For anybody that's not aware of that, we have a massive salt storage building that's in disrepair, and we're upgrading the facilities out back. And this would just be the first step of moving forward with a new salt storage building. And just because the salt is the road salt that comes in, so it has to have a big entrance on the front side for the deliveries, and then our guys load up. And this is going to be kind of a shameless plug, but I will say this: one thing Swatara Township is really known for is the level of snow removal that we do. We hear not just from our residents, but other residents. So everybody does a good job. And obviously, being able to store and use salt in the winter is an important part of it. So that's basically what this is.
Thank you. And then with regard to some of the change orders for Bishop Park, we have representative from Play and Park Structures. I'm going to put you on the spot, Kevin. I don't know if you'd be able to give just an overview, real quick for the public with regard to why at least two of the change orders are necessary. For the sidewalk and for the aggregate stone. So I'm gonna steal you to come up here and then sorry, I put you on the spot. It's like you came all this way. Might as well give you the opportunity to speak for a second.
Okay, the one change order
Mhm.
is to widen the sidewalk from originally what was quoted as 4 foot to 5 foot, which is really acting as a border for the playground. And then the second is the inclusion of drainage that wasn't included in the original purchase. I think on recommendation from the engineer of the project.
Thank you. And then just for the public, Hines?
Yes.
Hindis. Okay, Hines. That's what I thought. But Mr. Hines was very helpful and worked with me on making sure that, we got a good product for that playground. We appreciate you coming here and being here in case there were any questions or anything like that. But this is the first time I actually got to see you that wasn't virtually. Um, so thank you for being here tonight, and we're very excited, for the finished project. So
So over there today, it looks really good. So
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
How long till you're done?
well,
Because I'm gonna tell you,
Another
right now,
big- yeah.
I was there. I visited the other day, and you're not gonna be able to keep people out of there.
yeah, it's going to be a busy playground.
About how long you anticipate? I won't hold you to it.
Original installation is going to finish today, but they're going to have to come back for a couple of things.
Right.
And there's a small area of poured in place surfacing around the inclusive carousel.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure when that's happening. Hopefully within the next week or two, weather depending.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So
Thank you. Good job too.
Yes.
Because you guys put that up, and I think you did the other park too. So great.
Yeah, we worked with Mr. Hines for some of the other new equipment that you'll see going into that is already in some of the other parks as well. And then let's say there are two other change orders. One is for a fence around the playground area, and then the other is for it says conduit installation. We're doing this so that any future electrical service at the park for phase 2 is already done, so we don't have to disturb, the things that we're building now to put that in. So that would be potentially for future splash pad and concession stand and restrooms. So that's why we have that change order to get that in now. All right. So do we have any other discussion or questions? Let's say just for the public too, we can go over all the amounts then as well. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah. Yes, Madam President. I got a question with the salt storage.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the contract agreement or proposal, it says a lump sum fee we request a lump fee of 120K. But it also says, in accordance with the terms and conditions established within our base agreement, the fees of these additional services will be invoiced monthly based on a percentage of the work completed to date. Anybody explain that to me? What are we saying? First, we got a lump sum fee, and then we're going to be doing a monthly assessment of this salt storage.
I think the
Sorry,
billing.
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I think the billing practice is that on a monthly basis, based on their progress, if they're 20% done in month one, they'll bill you 20%. If they only are 25% complete in month two, they'll bill you for 5%. That's the way I interpret it anyway.
Okay. So what is the lump sum fee then?
Lump sum is the total amount. In other words, it's not time and materials. It's a flat fee for that all those services.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Solicitor.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else? I'll run through all the costs real quick. So, as Commissioner Douglas said, the salt shed will be $120,630. The aggregate drainage stone is $17,050. Widening the sidewalk will be $4,598. Where are we at with this one? The fence will be $27,393. And the electrical work for the conduit is $9,616.85. So just for the public, so you have the numbers. All right, we had a motion and a second. We had discussion. All those in favor of approving both of those, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are back around to visitors' requests and comments. If anyone has anything, again, come forward, state your name and address, and you can write them down as well for record-keeping purposes, and then you may begin. All right, so I guess it was a good thing we went over everything in the beginning. All right, possible stormwater violations for investigation. This is on the agenda every meeting. As always, you can send those in if there are any or come forward. I don't see anybody getting up, so we'll go to Commissioners' requests and comments, additional business and correspondence, and we'll start with Commissioner Douglas.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the comments. I know exactly how you feel because I had the same questions about these data centers. I've been doing the research. If anybody care to go out there and Google, his name is Ben Jordan. That's BENN, 2 N's. Last name Jordan, just like Michael or whatever. But he gives a very good, he's a subject matter expert on these. He's going all over the world. Look at these data centers. So exactly your concerns you're saying. I viewed this video multiple times. I actually sent it to Zach. It's a very good read and a view. The decibels and the tones. There are also other tones that I haven't heard anyone up here talk about. There's ultrasonic frequencies. These are different. Although we try to lump them in, this guy does a very good explanation of these. These frequencies are the ones that we don't feel, but the animals do. Like your dogs, your cats, and most importantly, the birds. Okay, it's some data centers. If you find out, there are no birds around them. And for those who love to watch them, the hummingbirds, well, you're not going to see them anymore. I get it. I understand it because I love watching birds. I'm not a bird watcher, but I love watching them. I love hearing them in the morning. So the same concerns you have, we have those concerns as well. Okay. I know you want us to prove it, and that's what we need to start doing, and we will. I have a question with the televisions, or whatever you want to call these. I haven't seen them used. I'm going around with the staff. Is there something wrong with them where we can have, because I know before we had our presentations up on them. Some people are visual learners versus you just spewing information out there. If we could try to get visual aspects up there, like Director Golden was talking about the location, it would be nice to actually have a picture of that location so everyone can see. There's a lot of money was put into these. Let's use them. If we need assistance in getting it up there, find out exactly who we need assistance from to actually use all of this. Swatara Township, Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. Duh, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that, right? So let's get something else up here. The ordinance, I know everyone wants a warm and fuzzy on what they see. They want it to be cut and dry, black and white. Okay, and sometimes, to be honest with you, I've been looking at the ordinances, and I had Zach explain a lot to me because you can get lost in the data. Okay, so if you have any questions whatsoever after view, and I seen some of the residents came up and said, "Hey, I have an ordinance example. It would be nice to see that within your ordinance." Some of those I like to call that the applicable rule. Just because it looks great in another location may not fit ours. So what will fit ours, we will use. What doesn't fit ours, we will tailor it to see how we can use it. So a lot will have to go into it. And every time I hear this, I just see poor Zach over there doing a lot of work. So not going to go unnoticed. I have a lot more, but I'm sure everybody wants to go home. So do I. So thank you for coming out and be safe getting home. Roads are wet. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Ray?
Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we really appreciate your research for DTC. And please continue research and come forward. We look forward. And also, please don't hesitate to send email. Please continue. And also, Jack, we appreciate your continue, back to back. You're emailing us and explaining everything. And this is new for us, for our township. And we are here for you. We are here for our citizen. We newly elected are not just to hear and watch, listen and go. We are working, we're doing our best, and we are working as a team for our citizens. Thank you so much, and please drive safe back to home. Good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly?
Yeah, I want to start with mentioning again Mr. Bill Keister, who was honored tonight for his achievements in weightlifting into his 60s. He's still setting and holding world records, so that's pretty impressive. But in addition to that, he motivates people. He is a security professional for a local school district, and he has been sponsored by the Swatara Township Police Department at some of the events that he excelled at, and I think we got for a minimal dollar amount to sponsor him. We got a lot of credit and praise, and if you Googled him or you saw some of the news stories, he is a regular person that uses the hashtag Swatara Strong. And for those of you that saw him tonight, he's definitely a strong man. So we're happy to honor him. Also want to say that the young man, Patrick Bradnick, has been involved in scouting for several years. And when they do the fundraiser, he always thinks of our public safety first responders. And he gives people the opportunity to, if they wanted to donate the card back, And as you saw tonight, he then gives them to our police superintendent, fire chief, and EMS providers, so that they can get some benefit. So that's I mean, so it's such a young man, and it is amazing to see how tall he is because he's been doing this for a while, and we always had to put the microphone down. So just a great young man, and appreciate what he does for our first responders. On Saturday, May 23rd, at the historic Midland Cemetery, there will be a Memorial Day program. The public is invited. If you're not familiar with Midland Cemetery, it's located in Swatara Township, almost on our border with Steelton. It's close to Steel High. There are over 100 military veterans buried there, going back to the Civil War. And uh, Miss Barbara Barksdale, who's known as the Cemetery Lady, she does a nice program. It's 1 o'clock on that Saturday. We generally see, our public safety people there, elected officials, but it's certainly open to the public. She'll have food that she provides, and it's just a really neat experience to feel that history that's located right here in Swatara Township. So if you're not somebody who's already planning on attending, I know weekends get busy, but I think you would really do yourself a favor if you showed up for that. That's pretty much all I have tonight, but I just want to say something to Commissioner Douglas. Last night at the Planning Commission, those screens were used on the plans that you're talking about. So, and I've seen in other places where people just put the agenda up, but tonight was a light schedule, and I want to assure everybody that they do work, and they have been used, and they'll continue to be used. But I like the idea of having something up there, throughout the meeting if we can. But that's all I have. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Steele.
PowerPoint with a remote in his hand. Okay, Brendan. All right. I appreciate every single one of you that came out and joined us online and in person. And I want to touch on this because the past 2.5 years, and I'm okay with whatever the opinion may come at the podium, but tonight, the last 2 meetings was a joy. One, because you were involved and you were engaged, and the dialogue was so civil. And it was your elected leaders and our residents actually having good discussion, good conversation. That hasn't been the situation over my last 2 years on the board. So it was great, and I ask that you continue to come, not just about data centers, but just to be engaged in your government. Sometimes this room is empty, and it shouldn't be that way. Um, Without getting too political, I mean, it doesn't matter what your affiliated party is. The things that are going on throughout the country requires your participation. And when you remain silent, that's why you have rulings such as that you just recently seen from the Supreme Court, because the people remain silent. And you have a right to stick up for others. You have a right to stick up for yourself, but make it more, even bigger than data centers. And I'm saying this because I don't care if you're Republican, Independent, Democrat. I've always governed that way. But there are some things that just don't sit right with me as an individual, as a human being, as a father, as a husband. And we really got to be involved, and we got to be involved in the political process, whatever that political process may look like to you. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I really, really enjoyed myself tonight. I really, really enjoyed myself the last meeting just because of the engagement from the public. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So just make sure you continue to come out. Um, Maybe we can have some snacks or something to get a bigger crowd.
Candy jar out front.
But I want to turn my attention to the police department. bar none. If you have never met Swatara Township's finest, um, they are one of the most reserved but aggressive police forces in central Pennsylvania. Yeah. I mean, the level of restraint that these gentlemen and ladies have is amazing. I mean, I never have a moment when I look at Facebook and someone's recording our police, no matter how tough it is. Same thing if they put them on you. I never have that moment as an elected official or even as a resident, because our folks are disciplined, but they're also aggressive, but they show a lot of restraint. And I want to give them a shout out because the most recent incident that happened on Paxton Street. Um, can I talk about it? Yeah. Okay. Um, Even just talking with the police chief, and this tells you how good of a leader this gentleman is. I'm not saying this just because he's here and his wife's here. And I mean, I guess it was a little bit of, this is my team, right? Call. He says, "Hey, man, we're gonna have this solved. We got people. We're gonna have this solved within a week." And I believed him. Damn it, I believed him, and they did. That's how good our police force is. You know, what's the saying? Mess around and find out. Mess around with Swatara Township Police Department. You'll find out. So I want to give kudos for the time and effort that our police officers just took in this hit and run. And that's one thing. The victim's family needs some closure, right? And that's part of that closure. But to anybody watching that wants to play around with Swatara Township Police Department, I pity you. So I just want to give you a shout out because that's because of your leadership, your command staff, and the police officers. And if you see our officers, I mean, they're well dressed, they're professional, they look sharp. So I mean, make sure you tell them they do a good job because sometimes they don't hear that enough with the interactions they go through. Same thing with our fire department. If you ever had an interaction with our fire department, what Chief Ipperson was saying up here today, we already know that. I mean, we have some of the best from the juniors to the seniors to our officers. We have some of the best volunteers and part-time firemen and fire ladies in central Pennsylvania, hands down. I mean, our response, our courtesy to our residents and transients, I mean, it's unmatched. The way they dedicate themselves to the craft, the training that they do, the skills, the way they keep the apparatus. I mean, go look at some of the apparatus and the way they keep it in shape. It's amazing. So I want to give a shout out to them as well for what they do. Other than that, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you for your time again, and get home safely.
Thank you. I just want to say that I hope everyone had a nice Mother's Day this past weekend. And I do also want to say that for those of us who no longer have their mothers or don't have the best relationship with your mother, just know that you're not alone with those things that we feel with regard to those situations. I also want to point out that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, as we said, we had a great discussion tonight. Everybody was civil. Everyone, had great points that they brought up. It was a very meaningful dialogue, but I just want to remind everyone to keep in mind that, we never know what anyone's going through. So, when we can choose kindness, I think that's something that all of us, a lesson that all of us should take. Um, and I just want to remind everyone that we do have an election coming up next Tuesday on May 19th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I encourage everyone that is eligible to vote to participate so that your voice is heard. I was going to say something about the Midland Cemetery event, but that got stolen. So that Midland Cemetery was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Mrs. Barksdale does a phenomenal job, and she's tended to that cemetery since the 80s. It was overgrown. There were trees everywhere. The remains of predominantly, probably almost all Black individuals are there. There are United States colored troops. There are Buffalo Soldiers. For anyone that likes baseball, Rap Dixon is buried there. It's a little treasure and a piece of history that we have within the borders of Swatara Township, and she has done a phenomenal job with reclaiming headstones and things like that that were all overgrown. That, you know, if you didn't have family buried there, you wouldn't have known it was a cemetery. And she's done a wonderful job. So I just want to make sure that we say that too. And if you can come out, please do, and show her some support. So that's all I have. Again, thank you to everyone that was here this evening. And we mean that when we say, please do come back. Don't be a stranger. It is nice when there are people in the audience rather than like just us and a handful of people. So we'd love to see you again. Get home safely. Thank you to everyone that takes the time to watch these meetings, and stay involved with local government. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
You have a motion, you have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:54 p.m.